Welcome to this week's episode on the Mums on Cloud9 podcast. I'm delighted to have Debbie Franklin here, who is the CEO of Peplows Accountancy. And we're going to be talking about how to, one, have like a portfolio income, but two, how to start a business and add that to your portfolio income. So really excited to explore this topic. Debbie has been my accountant for quite a number of years, and I actually got introduced to Debbie through a property investment firm. So I've got that portfolio income, I've run companies, also got some property that was an investment, and we did up and sort of got into that cycle of going, well, how do I plan for the future? Like a pension, how do I build a pension that's bigger than what company will give me? And I think it's really important that we invest for our future, but we think about the best ways of doing that. And obviously, quite a few people have a side hustle of starting their own business, or they might be a freelancer. And certainly at Supermums, we help people launch their Salesforce career, and quite often they might run their own Salesforce consultancy, start off as a freelancer, but equally want to invest money in other things like property and have other sort of options. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things today. So Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
Lovely to
having me.
have you here. I've loved always sitting down with you and being that fountain of knowledge. So we're going to squeeze every bit of juice out of you for the half an hour. Do you want to tell people about your background and types of companies that you help and everything that I've just talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm an accountant and a tax advisor. I do specialise to a degree in property tax. We are quite a unique firm in that it is owned by two women, which is very unusual in the accountancy arena. And both of us are mums. Tina still has young children. Mine have grown up. One has flown the nest, the other will not fly the nest ever, I feel. But yeah, I sort of enjoy dealing with what I would call small to medium-sized businesses. They're the interesting ones, the sort of startup ones, sometimes the side hustle. I mean, a lot of people do property income, as you'll know, Heather, as a side hustle initially until it can sort of replace income if they feel they need to retire or slow down or even take a career break. So it can be quite important that you've got more than one stream of income coming in, that you're not just very heavily reliant on the 9 to 5, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. It was great to hear that you're female in business as well.
We love that.
We are indeed. We are indeed.
Respect, and a lot of referrals and recommendations have certainly gone to you through the network that I've been part of. So let's just talk about this, I suppose, as a bit of a group as well. I mean, Kelly, for you, I mean, you've got a bit of a portfolio income up strategy, haven't you, as well?
Well, I guess so. I like to think so. But I mean, I've got a small business on the side. And again, at the moment, it's bringing me in pocket money, which goes towards my ultimate dream of getting those properties in Turkey and whatnot. So it's not something I've 100% put all my time into because I have a day job, but it's something I care about. And it's something that does bring in half of what I make it in my day job. So, and it's something I enjoy as well, which makes it easier that I can do it in my free time and at the weekends. And again, we're always looking at properties that are really downtrodden. In the area that I live in, it's quite a cheap area to buy property. It's really reasonable. And you can get a good 3 to 4 bedroom house for like 200k. So we're always looking for that right property to get, because I love interior design and making things look beautiful. I'm not good at it, but I love it. And I did my own house anyway. So, well, I like my own house, and with a bit of help and some of the agencies, we made it from the 70s looking house to what it is now, which I think is a vast improvement.
It's lovely.
So, thank you. It took a lot of work, but yeah, I'm really at the moment now looking for a really cheap fixer upper to kind of add to that extra income stream. And then these are all going to be things like the house that I live in now is my pension. I don't have a big police pension like my husband's got, so the property and the side business that I've got is going to go towards my retirement plan of traveling the world. So that's really what I'm doing. But I want to build on that. So this is quite interesting for me to learn about.
It's interesting. I was just going to jump in there, Heather, if that's all right. It's interesting you say that, because the number of women that don't have an adequate pension is actually quite staggering compared to men.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes because they've had a break from work, bringing up children, etc. But from that point of view, it is important that you eventually start to think about putting something in place for yourself.
Yeah, of course. And my problem was two things. I had, again, I'm not going to get deep into it. I had a few not a few messy divorces, but I had a messy divorce, and I had to leave everything behind without fighting for stuff that was half mine. So I did leave a lot of things behind and started from scratch. And then also my jobs, I worked for government contracts. So it was 2 years here, 2 years there. So I didn't build one uniform pot. But again, I'm working on that now to build what I've got now.
Ideal.
And I think it's really important, and particularly if people listening to this are already learning, I think it's important to learn like what are the options and which ways to go. So I think the property is a great idea, Kelly, because it's almost like you can invest money and make over time. So when I was in my 30s, I found a cheap property in Maidstone, and it had a double garage on the side. And on the double garage, because it's got a double garage next to the house, I got planning permission for another 3-bed house on that.
Wow.
Cost me 1.5 grand, and I made 70 grand on selling the
Wow.
plot.
Wow,
And so
yeah.
somebody bought the property and the plot, because a plot is worth, if you get planning permission out on it for like a 3-bed house and the house is worth 240, you can like normally gauge to get a third of the value. So that 70k came from 1.5 grand, and I put that into another 3-bed property, which then I had 10 years, and sold that last year because the mortgages had sort of increased, and so the rental didn't equate to covering the mortgage anymore. So obviously that's something to be mindful of with property these days, is to get the right ratios right. But I made 100k on that in 10 years. So, and it was just sat there doing nothing with tenants in there for 10 years. So that's a different way to make your money and kind of keep reinvesting. And then the other property project is we bought a commercial building, which was beautiful terrace houses just off the seafront in Hastings. It was £115,000 for 5 floors. That's now 2 flats and a retail, and it's now worth 450, and I don't have a mortgage on that.
That's
So,
good.
but that took obviously a lot of development work, and that was with my ex. We owned a side each, so I owned 5 floors, and he owned like number 5 Trinity Street, and the whole building was 300 between us. And so the work was done after. It took quite a few years, maybe longer than I expected, but over time it doesn't matter. So I think they're 3 very distinct different projects. The Bexhill property, where we just rented it out, and it obviously accrued value over 10 years, didn't really, a few bits and bobs to clean it up, but it was just rented out straight away. So I think thinking about where you invest time, and obviously if you invest in businesses, obviously a lot of women invest in businesses as well. I think it's important to think about, if you're earning well, and in a Salesforce career, you can start earning well. Obviously, as a freelance, that's another way to earn. Where do you invest your money? So I think Debbie's got that rounded experience for sure. Lynn, what about you? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, well, obviously all of that resonates with me because I've done similar as well, bought and done up and sold property. So absolutely, I think that's something that a lot of people have dipped their feet in the water, so to speak. But from what you're saying, Debbie, already, I'm very keen to get you in contact with my husband. He runs his own business. He's the director of the business. He works really hard. He works tirelessly. And I think, do you know, from listening to you, it's great to hear. I think you would build a rapport, as well as it's like you say, there's a lot of males in the business that are doing accountancy, and I think from what I already know of you, I think it would be great. You'd be more approachable and able to ask questions and go through things, rather than it being very black and white, which it often is. So from my side, absolutely, all of that resonates with me for sure.
No, you're right. A lot of the accountancy world is jargon.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's quite
black
hard
and white.
it is. It's really hard to navigate your way through the jargon, where actually you just want it put in plain terms that you can remember, understand, and sort of log for future use, really.
Yeah, and it's when you ask someone a question, you don't just want a black and white answer, you want it elaborated. And I'm sure that with you, I think that's going to be the difference. And it's not a case of picking a phone up and asking a question and just getting back the minimum. I think I can see already that it would be good to have a conversation with you. And we are also looking at more property again. So again, definitely worth a conversation, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Any advice has to be tailored, because it has to be appropriate. No 2 persons' circumstances are the same.
Absolutely.
So let's reflect on that portfolio income, I think, initially, because I think that's where we've sat down, Debbie, going back to the conversations.
We have.
Like, okay, you've got, I think this is what scares people to some degree. And I want to ask you about the benefits of it, really, is obviously you think, well, I'm getting my job income and I don't want to hamper that. And then if I've got a sideline business and I've got property, obviously you've got taxation implications and things like that, and it can be scary to even get there. So Debbie, just explain to us, I suppose, for all the clients that you see, obviously not naming names, but like, what's the benefit of that portfolio income? Why should people sort of sit down and have this conversation with you and go, actually, yeah, let's take this step?
Oh, definitely. I mean, probably one of the best examples is COVID, because a lot of people had property then with tenants in, earning a regular, I'll say, passive income. We all know that being a landlord is not particularly passive. You have to deal with issues, but you still had that regular income coming in. Even if the tenant was struggling a little bit, there was income coming in when perhaps people couldn't work, particularly self-employed people. It's just, I suppose it's the same as anything. If you go to a financial advisor, they'll advise you to spread your risk across an investment portfolio. And multiple income streams is much the same. You've got your job. If for whatever reason anything happened to your job, then you might have some property to fall back on. And you could have the income from that. You can look at capital appreciation for future pension, as Lynn was sort of talking about. You can do flips, as Kelly was talking about, and then really possibly have some investments as well, often in the way of pensions, because as you'll know, Heather, they're extremely tax efficient to pay into a pension. But having those multiple streams is very useful if the wheels fall off one of them. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, that's really
The thing is with those, you do have to set them up in the right way, because, for example, if you're a higher rate taxpayer in your job, by adding a property portfolio or an investment portfolio or even a side hustle, you're almost immediately kissing goodbye to 40% of it in tax.
Yeah.
So it's
painful.
very harsh. So it's quite important that you do get advice on structure in particular. And certainly these days, I would say most property investors are looking to limited companies to shelter that tax.
Okay, so I suppose everything that you've said already, it does. I definitely feel like we need to have a conversation after this for sure. And I think when you say, about that 40%, I think everybody has that on the back of their mind when they're doing anything, don't they? And, that 40% tax, I mean, it's half of your money gone, isn't it, every month?
Yeah.
I think why do I bother?
Nearly. I know, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? But in terms of people that are thinking maybe of starting a new business, what's the right business structure that they should be following? I think that'd just be a useful question for viewers that are, or listeners, of course, that are thinking about starting out.
Yeah, I mean, as Heather will know, I often answer a question with depends, and the answer really is it does depend. For example, if you're a basic rate taxpayer, you might be just as well starting out sole trader, particularly because there's fewer admin costs along the way of running companies, etc. And also, as a basic rate taxpayer, you can end up paying more tax through a company potentially. For a higher rate taxpayer, probably not. But tax is only a part, really, of that conversation. Because the other thing you might have is risk mitigation. For example, if you start up a sideline in something you could be sued for, you might want to go straight into a limited company, even if you are a basic rate taxpayer, because it gives you a measure of limited liability should somebody come after you, should something terrible happen. Not in general, I'll say, creditors cannot come after your personal assets, whereas a sole trader or a partnership, they can. Any creditor of those is a creditor of yours, in theory. So you do look at various types of things when you are talking to people about how you should be setting up your business. Sole trader is not necessarily the wrong way to go, but it can be the right way. But if you need limited liability, you're more likely to look at a limited company. And it is due to things I won't sort of go into too great detail on here, to do with offsetting of mortgage interest. It has become far more popular for property investors, limited companies now.
I suppose as well, when you talk about it like that, you think about limited company, I suppose it depends on what you're going into, because you obviously got that risk, as you've just said. And if you're a limited company, you're not putting everything personal at risk as well, are you? So,
No,
I think it's really
absolutely.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I mean, I opened my travel business as a limited company because I was reading the differences, and because it was like it's a separate person in itself.
It
Yeah.
is.
So no one's coming after my home where my child
Yeah.
lives. And again, I think I was reading somewhere that you can actually buy properties in the name of the business.
Yes,
And
you
I
can.
wanted to do that, so buy property in Greece and Turkey and use that as like places to travel to as well. So again, doesn't really affect my personal or my family stuff as well. So there's a lot of loopholes that could be interesting to figure out. Maybe another conversation afterwards with you as well.
Yeah, it's just those little threads, you're right. Just
Mm.
those little things that when your personal circumstances, you've pulled those things together and come to an answer.
Yeah, of course, of course. So in terms of starting a whole a business, now I know the paperwork involved. I don't mind paperwork because it gives me a sense of control, and then also I can learn as I'm filling things out.
She likes control.
I love control, and again,
I want Kelly's traits. That's my requirement for a boyfriend. It's like,
oh
do they like
gosh.
paperwork and things? And Rob luckily is. But
I do all the admin in
I
my
hate
house, so
it.
everything, mortgage paperwork, because I have to be meticulous to make sure I haven't signed myself away to anything,
Yeah.
like signed my soul to anybody. So I read every small print, translate it, everything. And I guess some people might find it quite daunting to really know where to start. Like I remember having to do my HMRC and logo registering and all that kind of stuff. So what would you advise people to start, or how would they organize their paperwork in terms of setting up something new for themselves?
I mean, generally, you want something organized, digital, if possible, because using some sort of digital programs make it far easier for your accountant. They make it easier for you to submit to HMRC, to companies' house requirements. You've got to look at things like, is the logo you're going to use, is it already trademarked? Because you could end up being sued for infringement.
Yeah, I had to check the IPO,
Yes,
system
you
to
do.
find anything similar to mine.
Yeah, I mean, well done, because so many people miss that and they end up.
I'm a good researcher.
Not Kelly.
But I don't know, Kelly, you probably found it's quite easy to find. It's
Super
quite easy to
easy,
look around the
yeah.
IPO website and
There's
see
two, I
somebody's
think.
got it. Yeah.
There's two, one for the global one and one for the UK one.
Yeah.
And you can just search for like logos that are similar to yours or words that are similar and just scour through it. Like, it was easy.
So those sorts of things, I suppose, again, it depends what you're going to be doing, but the sorts of things you have to look at is health and safety, potentially, what insurances you need, public liability, employer's liability, your company's house filing, your bookkeeping. Do you need to be VAT registered? There are lots of sort of online resources, I have to say. People like the Federation of Small Businesses, all of those have good resources about how to start your own business. But those are the sorts of things you need to be looking at. What do you need on your letterhead? What is the requirement for that? What information do you need on your website? Do you need to declare your directors, your company number, your registered office?
Yeah, of course.
And there is so much information out there now that you need to think about those things. But probably one of the bigger dives is when you end up taking on staff, because that comes again with a whole different raft of legislation that you've got to dive into, with contracts, right to work in the UK, getting references, employment legislation, discrimination, all of those things. So there is a lot to do, but there is so much information available now that, like you can go on and research an awful lot of it yourself. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go and get advice somewhere else eventually, but at least you're educating yourself so that when you get advice, you know the right questions to ask.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Because sometimes if you don't know what question to ask, you're not going to get the right answer.
Yeah, I know, of course. I mean, I think, again, for me, it was easy in a way because I just made sure, was there a threshold of money that I had to stay under before the VAT? Because I didn't want to add any more paperwork to me. I've got a day job, I've got stuff I'm doing on my side and my own business. And I think if I stayed below 80k for the year, and just as myself and my husband doing the extra bits, then I wouldn't have to mess with the VAT returns and things like that. So I'm just keeping it maintained, so I don't have to do the next level of paperwork. But yeah, there's a lot of information out there.
But that's really good, because what you did is you looked at the VAT and you thought, right, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that right now.
My list. This is the one thing I have to do to keep it off of my list. And it's those sorts of decisions that you can make around that.
Yeah, of course.
I think also don't let it put you off. So we've always had a bookkeeper, or you can have a virtual PA that supports you with those things. So I think if you're running your own business, you've got to think about where your strengths are and what you enjoy doing. But delegating some of those things means that you can spend your time selling or delivering and earning more money versus something else as well. So that's what I've always done, because paperwork is not my strength.
It's funny you should say that, Heather, because I remember somebody once saying to me, only do what only you can do.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Delegate
that.
the rest.
Because if somebody else can do it, you should let somebody else do it, because you can probably earn more money doing what you are good at.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So talking about like formalities and legalities, I think one of the other things that, might not be able to get a virtual PA to do, but is thinking about what you need to do with government, for example, and legalities and things like that. What are the other considerations that you need to make sure you got in place? Because I think I've used some different, like Law Depot I've used before, particularly for like tenancy agreements and things like that. There's various resources we could tap into, but again, it's just making sure you're covered on all these things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think things like your main legalities are things like we talked about, your insurances, making sure you're covered. You need to, if you've got a limited company, you need to submit accounts at Companies House. I would say be very careful with Companies House, because they've got a lot tougher if you are late on any of the legalities and the filing requirements. They will start strike-off proceedings a lot quicker than they used to. And if there are any assets, including cash in a bank in a company, and it gets struck off, those assets are sent to the Crown.
Wow.
So you have to be very careful with Companies House. It used to be they were quite relaxed. Now they're really tough. If your accounts aren't in 2 months late, they'll start looking to strike your company off.
Wow.
So it's got quite harsh. And the same with HMRC. I mean, they won't strike you off, but they will start imposing big penalties for non-compliance, because I think with all of these government departments, they've not got the money to go out and ensure compliance, so they use deterrence instead. So the deterrent is, if your accounts are 9 months late, your filing penalties are going to go up to sort of £3,000 or something like that. That's where they make you comply. So you need to be fairly careful with that. Most of the time,
having an account, Debbie, because you're my accountant, you reminding me of things coming up is
yes,
important,
definitely.
right? I mean, I've
Definitely.
certainly not got like certain MOTs or things done in time, and you need that person reminding you.
Yeah, you do. And to have some sort of online assistant is quite good with that, with your own deadlines. But I mean, if you're using an accountant, they will take care of those for you and make sure, come on, get your records to us. You need to be doing something. These days, most things have to be done online now. There's going to come a time when Companies House, you can't file by post. HMRC, you can't really file corporate tax by post. So you're going to also need to get your software needs taken care of when you're starting a business, and make sure you've got all those things in hand. But it's like most things, it's more about your paperwork. A lot of it is getting your paperwork in effect, your policies and all of those things, and making sure you're covered, but have a good diary. Definitely.
Brilliant. I think all of that has been so valuable. I'm sure everyone listening that is interested. I mean, it sounds like you wear very many hats, Debbie.
I think women do, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I remember going for promotion once very early in my career, and he said, how did you learn to manage people? And I said, well, I've got 2 children.
Yeah, that's it. That is so true,
skill.
though, isn't it? Absolutely.
You have to be dispute resolution and everything. Please don't let that put any women off starting your own business. It's the best thing I ever did. I am answerable to me. And Heather, you must feel the same. You are answerable mainly to you.
Sometimes to me.
Hey.
Yeah, she might be answerable.
Yeah, upward management happens here. Yeah, we have our
We
strengths.
do.
Like Kelly's like, I need this from you
That-
now. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and you can make your own hours, and you can work around the kids, and it is much more flexible than being employed. There's no doubt about that. And if you just want to dabble in it as well as your job, that's good too.
Yeah, I think it's that
Yeah.
thing a side hustle. And I was a makeup artist alongside a job for like 5 years.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
exciting.
Wow.
And used to do that every weekend. I earn about like £500 a weekend doing that. But I think going back to Kelly, you've done it as well. Like having that side hustle, it doesn't feel like work. It's a nice thing to do if you love it and what you do.
Yeah, of
My mum
course.
and dad had a side, they were working full time and had a business in the evening that they'd always, and I'd go away at weekends and work with them. Like, I think it's part and parcel of having something that you enjoy. It's really important you enjoy it, Debbie.
It is.
Because if you're running running a business is hard, like, let's face it, like
Yeah.
there is all these things to think about. And obviously if you're a freelancer, it's a lot more simpler. When I was working as a Salesforce freelancer, it was just me. Now I've got these lovely crew to think about every day and have responsibilities for. But I think freelance is great. It's you're on your own terms. Running a business, growing a business obviously comes with a lot more things, but as long you've got to be completely passionate about it.
Yeah,
and you've got to wake up and have that fire in your belly. And I think certainly we all feel this at Supermums, right? We love what we do.
Yeah.
We love working with the mums. Yeah, we'll have those days where we will have like, oh gosh, this has happened. But that's part and parcel, right? You're learning, developing, growing and doing things. And I think you've got to love what you do. Really important. And whether you're going to go property or invest in other things, you've got to find the things that you thrive on, because that's the only way you're going to lean in and learn about it.
Yeah, it's interesting you said about learning as you go, because I find with clients, I often say to them, when you are starting a business, bite off a bit at a time, because quite often they'll come to me and they say, right, I need to know all of this stuff right now. And it's like, you won't remember it all. You'll get very bored very quickly because there are a lot of little bits of requirements. So chop it up into manageable pieces. What do I need to know now? What can wait for a month? What can wait for 2 months? Because you get information overload. Otherwise, you try and do it all on day one, you burn yourself out, I think.
You know what also I found out as well, which I don't know if it's just me, maybe because I feel like I've got ADHD or I'm going through trying to figure out why I'm so hyperactive, but I have a thing where I wanted to buy all of the products like the CRMs and buy Microsoft Business. And I didn't need all of that straight away.
No.
I needed the basic things. So my husband saying to me, don't buy anything yet until you start building leads and customers. And I'm just like, so I had to have him slow me down. Otherwise, I would have spent like thousands on all these Salesforce systems and attachments and things. So I think it's about also, it's okay to start off with the bare minimum as well. You don't have to buy all the brand new gear and all the gear, no idea kind of situation. Start off with what you can afford and what you can put into it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a race.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody develops their business at different speeds. And just because somebody might go very quickly, it doesn't mean their business is going to be a better one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes slow foundations build a much more stable business in the long run because you've done the harder work at the beginning.
Sowed the seeds.
Sowed the seeds, yeah. And it's funny when you say things like VAT we spoke about just now, and I know restaurants that shut before the end of the season because they know that they're going to go over the bracket, so it makes it easier. And there's nothing like, whereas back in the day you'd be doing a side hustle to save for a rainy day. It's not quite like that now. I think you need to know all of this stuff to be able to do any business, whether it's your main business or your side hustle, for sure. Is there anything we missed? Is there anything else that anybody that would really need to think about before they start a business?
Do you know, probably the one thing you really need to start about when you're thinking about starting a business is, what is your exit strategy? Because your business is not going to keep going until the day you die, in general.
That's very interesting.
So you need to think, are you just going to do it for income and then stop? Are you going to scale it to sell? Are you going to bring employees into ownership and sell it that way? What succession plan do you have? Because you don't want to get into a business that you can never leave because it solely depends on you. Yeah. And that all of us, whether we want to or not, I'd like to keep doing this until I'm 80, but I'm not going to be sharp enough.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
That's very
I'm gonna
kind.
need to.
80's the new
But do you see what I mean? You've got to have a strategy of how you get out the other end, particularly if you're putting in a big investment in money, for example. Property's a little bit easier because generally what people tend to do is leave it down to their children. But with businesses, for example, we have quite a lot of farmers down here. They go down the generations, but the new generation of kids of farmers don't want to go into farming.
Of course.
So you've always got to think, if you're doing a business, the likelihood is you might not pass it down to your children, because it might not, especially if they've watched you work really hard in it, it might not be something they want to do. So you need to think what your exit plan is at the beginning.
It's like writing a book, I think, isn't it? You write your own story. You need a start, a middle, and an end, don't you?
Yeah. And you've got to have a rough idea where the end's going when you start.
I feel
the
like,
importance of systems, Kelly. Like,
yeah,
I
well,
mean, my partner, I'm like, you need to put all your contacts in a CRM and have all the knowledge of it, because then you can sell it at some point. It's all
yeah,
all that history of all your contacts is what you're the only exit, right? You can sell if you've got all that data around your customers, hence the importance of a CRM and a financial accounting system and everything like that. So
I say
definitely
the
worth
same to
investing, Cal.
mine.
Maybe not like when you've got 3 sales, let's do it. I'll help you with the Salesforce system.
Well, I
Absolutely.
wanted to sell everything at 85 and then just like literally live for 5 years as a Kardashian and just buy all the cars and Lamborghinis that I want. So 5 years of
Why
my
doesn't
life,
this surprise me?
I'm going to be in like expensive heels on a yacht somewhere in a bikini. Yes, I'll be 85, but I can.
Pink bikini, Kelly.
Diamond bikini, selling everything. So I'm practically
I'm
homeless.
coming. I'm on my way.
So, planning for the future, pensions, pensions as women, what can we do to really increase our pension pot so we're not working until we're 85?
Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're earning a high income, so if you're a higher rate taxpayer, pensions are particularly tax efficient. If you're running your business through a company, the company can pay into your personal pension for you and get a tax deduction from your profit. Pensions used to be free of inheritance tax, so they were a very good way of not only putting a nest egg away for the future, but if you didn't need it, passing it down to the next generation. They are being dragged into inheritance tax now, but it's still a good option to save money in the company tax bill and get some money in a pension for later. And it's just one of those streams. I still don't think you should just have a job and a pension. I think a business, a property portfolio, maybe some investments outside of the pension is important to spread your risk, but pensions are very good. Now, if there's certain pensions like SIPs, for example, where you can use the money in the pension to invest in commercial property. So some people quite like that. If you're interested, it can't hold residential, but if you're interested in commercial property, you can use your pension fund to do that potentially. So it's very useful, but I think shockingly number of people are underfunded on their pension, which isn't such a big problem if you've got a large property portfolio that's going to continue generating income in your retirement. But that's the other thing about the exit plan. You need to think, probably not when you're in your 20s or 30s, because you think you're invincible. But, as you start to get older, you need to think about how am I going to live once I'm retired? What is going to pay my bills at that point? And the earlier you can start putting into a pension, really, the better, the bigger the pot will grow. But it's particularly good for higher rate taxpayers to get that tax relief.
Interestingly, and a sort of half a question, half something that I think I know, is that if you continue working whilst you're getting a pension, it's taxable. And if you,
It is.
Yeah, so I understand that you're going to still pay tax.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, a lot of people don't realise that the state pension is taxable.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it is
If you're
taxable
working.
income. Yeah, it will use your 12,500 allowance. So it will.
Sorry, I don't understand. If you're working in a job and you're at national pension age, they will take money from your pension.
They will
Correct.
take money from your job to cover the tax on the combined.
Oh,
So you will
that's
pay
bang out of
more on
order.
your job. Yeah. What you get when you draw a state pension, and probably, Kelly, at your age, it will be an awful long way off because they're increasing the state pension age all
I know,
the
it's
time.
time,
67
yeah.
now, isn't
we are
it?
going to be working when we're 80.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
be
just
on a
going to
beach
keep
in
going
Turkey.
up.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, if you're still working or you've got an occupational pension, the state pension does count towards your taxable income.
Interesting.
If you
All
don't
right.
work, it's not taxable, but if you do work, it is.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
usually covered by your personal allowance if you're not working. Just another quick one on state pension and national insurance contributions. You have, in order to get full state pension, you need 35 years of contributions. Used to be 44, went down to 30, it's gone back up to 35. Now, whilst you've got a child under 12, you will still qualify as a tick for your state pension towards that year. And if you're paying national insurance, you will still qualify as well. But sometimes it can make a difference who the child benefit gets paid to. For example, when I had children, my husband gave up work and I carried on working. So we made sure we claimed the child benefit in his name because I was already paying national insurance contributions. So he got his record stamped for those years.
Oh.
There's so much, isn't
So
there? There's so
sometimes,
much
yeah,
to know.
I
sometimes
need all
you
the
just-
loopholes.
You
Debbie,
just got to
please.
say,
Debbie's
But-
your woman.
Yeah.
you literally can. You can just Google state pension forecast online.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
tell you how many qualifying years you've
Yeah,
got.
because I
so
went
that
back
you
to pay.
know.
I paid back some of my back years for when I was traveling. So I
Yes.
went back and paid to catch up, so I wasn't working
Catch up.
longer in the future. So yeah,
But
Yeah,
it's not consecutive, is it? It's 35 throughout your
overall.
35
lifetime.
in
Yeah.
total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Good
quite
to know.
important because although the state pension is never going to make you rich, it's worth
No,
having.
but it's something I've contributed to and I want.
Yeah,
So
Definitely.
it's mine.
Definitely. It is. Yeah.
And is that forecast, I guess it is, sorry, another question. That forecast, is that correct that's online?
Not always.
Oh.
Usually, I would say, but not always. I had a client who actually had been mistakenly allocated 2 national insurance numbers,
Wow.
Oh, that's
and
dangerous.
some contribution had gone to each. So when his state pension
No.
came up, actually it said you've only got half contributions, and he's like, no way am I.
Oh,
But we got
what?
it sorted, but it took
Oh.
time.
Wow.
So it is worth looking, because when you do the forecast online, you can go in. There's a little link in it when it shows you the forecast where you can check your NI record. So if you see a year and you think, I know I worked that year,
Yeah.
then you can write to them and say you need to recheck your records because something's not right here.
I log into that website every single week.
Just sit with you
Every
and
week
tell
I'm in
me.
HMRC website.
I think
No,
pensions is
really
a
good
whole
point.
nother podcast, isn't
It's
it?
a whole.
It
It's
should
yeah.
be.
Coming soon to
Would go away.
you.
The only other quick thing is, I don't know how many of you who've got limited companies follow them on Companies House so that you get alerts if anything changes on them,
No.
because the instances of hijacking of companies is
Really?
starting to increase. We had a client who, somebody unbeknownst to her, made themselves a director of the company, changed the registered
Oh my
office
goodness.
What?
so that everything
Oh
went
my God.
to that new address.
How did that
And
happen?
we phoned Companies House for her, we wrote to them, and
Bless her.
unfortunately there weren't much help.
Oh
Wow.
my
That's
goodness,
terrible.
crazy.
But if you go on Companies House and find your company, there's a button that says you can follow this company, and that way, if anybody
Right.
was appointed director, registered office, you would get
Oh my
instant
goodness.
update on that.
But that's
Oh,
surely
that
that's
even happened.
fraudulent.
Well, yeah,
It
if it's a
is. I mean,
crime,
that's
they'll
the
get
whole
arrested.
reason they wanted to do it, to take out credit agreements in the company name or
Wow.
whatever
Scams,
it
isn't it?
was.
Oh my goodness. That's scary,
You'll
isn't
see
it?
me now,
On
CEO
that
of
note.
Supermum.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Heather, I was
She's
just
gonna
joking.
try that, isn't she?
I'll
But
try and
hopefully
log
that's
in.
not scared everybody listening to the
Yeah.
session today.
It's
No,
about
it's
it's aware.
exciting.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to say it never happened.
Yeah.
No. Well, we've covered loads today. Thank you, Debbie. I
Yeah.
always love sitting down with you and having a chat. And certainly you've engaged Lynn and Kelly. They'll be ringing you up, I think,
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I'll be
will.
calling you.
Yeah,
Sorry, I've got so many
well,
No
questions.
problem at all. But I mean,
Yeah.
if there's anything that anybody wants me to do another one one on specifically that's a bit more
We're
targeted,
definitely having
happy
you
to do.
back. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we've got that in the diary. And I think the whole point, and where I think it was really important point you raised at the beginning, Debbie, about, women don't necessarily have the right sort of right size pension to retire,
No, they
and certainly to get the yacht that Kelly visioned. Getting all of that, Kelly's well on track for it. We need to plan for the future, and that could be obviously having a job, having a side hustle, being a freelancer, whatever it is, as well as looking at other investment options like property, shares, all of those different things. Make sure you've got a great financial advisor in your court and an accountant to help you navigate all these different things we've talked about today, because it's only very hard to navigate yourself and keep up with everything. I think that's why I've leaned on Debbie to support me in running a business, having some property. That allowed me the flexibility to get divorced and also to navigate starting a business and all those things because of the portfolio income. So I think it's really important we protect ourselves, and we're here to help, right? That's what we're here for on Mums on Cloud 9. We want to give you the best sort of set of ideas that you can come up with and learn how other people have done it. So thank you, Debbie, for being on the show today.
Thank you
We'll
for
have you
having me.
back, as we know. And thank you, Kelly and Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Debbie. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.